Hey everyone, my name is Sam, and thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification, and give the video a thumbs up. I apologize, I'm kind of sick right now, so I'm just hoping to get through this video, and I'm obviously probably not going to be the same perk yourself, but I finished 3 books this week, and I wanted to tell you guys about them. So the first book that I read this week was The Star-Touched Queen by Roshni Chokshi. This was actually a reread for myself, but I honestly read the first book in like a day and couldn't remember a single thing about it. It was just very beautifully written, and I was just kind of like in a different headspace. So I wasn't really paying attention to the plot. So this time, paid attention to the plot, and it's just like the writing is still like insanely beautiful. I don't understand how this book has like 3.5 stars on Goodreads. But it's the weird thing is like it is retelling, and the writing really does work well with that aspect, but as well as like it's just I feel like it just took me to the place of this fairy tale folklore retelling. So our main character is Maya, and at the beginning her father has like all these different kids and basically says, I want you to like pick a suitor of these like all these kingdoms, and when you do that it's going to invoke a war because there's a lot of political stuff going on, and I need you to pick someone and I need you to then kill yourself, and that way it'll kind of we kind of control the story there. And so she very last minute ends up picking someone and not who her father thought she would choose, and you know not killing herself. So she meets Amar, who is the king of, I want to make sure I get it, Akaran. And so she goes to this land. She doesn't understand it. She thinks it's all kind of magic and this just like a folk legend. And she goes and finds out things about this castle and herself, and she's still trying to exactly understand who Amar is, other than the fact that he kind of like saved her from this whole situation. And there's some timeline timeline in different plots that kind of start conflicting, and she starts realizing this. And then there's this kind of discussion on like fate and who gets to decide things, and the world of the death and the dead, and you don't get the life without the death. And it's just very interesting, and there's a bit of a betrayal at the end, which I wasn't really expecting. And it's just a very interesting concept. At no point was I like, I know where this is going. I'm just like, I'm not 100% sure what's going on for the most of this, but it's very beautiful. And I feel like she knows Roshni and Maya know where they're going. So I'm just going to follow along and see how this goes. And honestly, I absolutely love this story. I'm very, very curious for A Crown of Wishes. And yeah, I don't understand how it doesn't get more talk. Like the writing is just so beautiful. Like, so I think I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm very happy I own a copy of it, because I know originally I was like, oh, should I buy it? I've heard very mixedy things. And then reading it, I'm like, those people who didn't like it were wrong. There's like this subjective thing, but then there's just being blatantly wrong. So I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I love it. And if you like beautiful writing, it's not identical to, but like it reminded me a bit of like with Laini Taylor, where like I have a hard time paying attention to Laini Taylor's actual plots and books because I get distracted by her very pretty writing. So it's kind of along that same wavelength. I also managed to read The Caged Queen this week by Kristen Cicerelli. Now this is one that I feel like it's very easy to like give away something, try to explain the plot, so I need to make sure I get it right. But there's 2 sisters. It starts kind of like with this prophecy theme. They're named Essie and Roa, and they have this like magical thing together, and they hear the hum. And then when they're younger, there's a series of events in which cause Essie to die. But in this world, she gets kind of trapped in this like kind of in between death and life. Like she is dead, she's not coming back, but almost kind of like tormenting and haunting this world. And part of the reason is they blame the character Dex. And, flash forward a couple of years, Roa is betrothed to Dex, and she doesn't think he's a good guy. She thinks horrible things about him for the whole thing that happened with her sister, but just other things as well. And then she starts realizing, pretty stereotypically for YA, that he's not exactly what she's been made to believe, and they were on opposite sides and kind of conflicting, like kind of not star-crossed lovers. They were kind of forced into a marriage between kingdoms not getting along. Yeah, she finds out he's not like the ladies' man that she thought he was, or the destructive person, or that. It's very, very interesting. It was a much different tone than the first one. Like, I feel like the world was still quite dark, but it wasn't the same. Like, The Lost Namsara is very, like, slaves and abuse and everything like that. This one wasn't quite the same, but it was very clearly still in that kind of same world. You still got the same dark tones and vibes, and there's very clearly this, like the after effects of everything from The Last Samsara. I believe it's in here as well. Dex is the brother? I want to say the brother. He's in some way connected to someone from The Last Samsara book. I want to say he's like the brother of the main character. It's been a couple months since I read that book, sorry. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think I actually like this one a little bit better just because the first one's very dark. I love it for being dark, but this was like kind of like less like slave-y, like, you know what I mean? But it was just very, very interesting. Like, I don't think the plot, like the big twist at the end, was necessarily unique. I think it's been done quite a bit. But I really liked the writing. I liked the development, the relationships, the friendships, the romances. The sister bond is something that I think was really, really highlighted. And I feel so bad for these characters. Like, at one point, she's like, do I kill this person? Then I'm a killer, but then I save my sister, but then I'm a killer, but is it the best for the kingdom? And then am I killing other people by killing him to save my sister? Like, it was just very, very interesting. I thought that part was really well done. I did enjoy it. And yeah, I gave this, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars. I think for a couple chapters or whatever, it lagged for me a little bit. And like I said, it wasn't super original plot-wise, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. It was a very fun read, which I wasn't expecting it to be, considering The Last Samsara. But I really, 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 really enjoyed it, and I would actually recommend it as well. And last but definitely not least, I also did a reread again of The Black Witch by Laurie Forrest. This is the 5th, 6th, 7th, I don't know how many times. I've read this book quite a bit. But if you don't know so far, Ellerin is the main character. She lives in this world with a lot of racial division, and she is a part of the division that is the ruling class and the privileged. And her grandmother is the Black Witch. Her grandmother was, sorry, she's passed away since. It was the Black Witch, and she was kind of this all prophesy being, magical being that helped the Gardnerians, Ellerin's race, escape persecution in this whole racially conflicting cycle of everyone just hating each other. And her uncle is, raised her away and raised her to be less prejudice and judging, and then she's thrown into this world of prejudice. And of course, this world has this weird kind of pocket. I think someone told me, it's like, is it Madison in the United States? It's like Madison is just this in its own whole other world of just like everyone, you go to university and you just like you interact with people, and prejudice is not okay, and equality is for everyone. And in the middle of this world of like just racism and sexism and homophobia and all that stuff. So it was just really, really interesting, and you can see how being in different places will influence you in different ways. And Ellerin grows up out of the city, out of all that political pressure to hate other people, and she knows of it, but then she goes to university and is immediately confronted with it and was like, oh, all of these stereotypes are not what I'm seeing. And it happens across the board with like the Lupines and the Celts, and it is just so interesting. And then of course, because it's a good old fantasy, there's some prophecy thrown into it. So yeah, I absolutely adore this book. I hype it nonstop, and 5 out of 5 stars again. So this may be a little bit of a short video, I'm not sure. But those are all the books that I read this week. Let me know in the comment section down below what you read this week, or if you've read any of these and what your thoughts were. I would love to know. Make sure to check the description box down below. I will link all of these books to their Goodreads pages, and I will also link all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back.